In my live classes, I spend a good amount of time talking about breathing. So in today's video, I'd like to explain the ins and outs of breathing in the yoga practice so that when you're practicing along with my videos, you have some ideas and some confidence about how to work with your breathing. My name is Zelinda and I specialize in teaching yoga so that people with all kinds of bodies can participate and benefit. Breathing is a very big topic, but we kind of take breathing for granted because we do it without paying attention all day long. But in the breathing practice, we do put particular focus on the breathing. Generally, we're trying to coordinate the pace of the breath and the pace of the movement so that when we, for example, move our arms from this position to this position, that movement lasts the whole duration of your inhale. So it's like this. Inhale, the movement begins, the movement completes, and the inhale completes. And then on the exhale begins, the movement begins, then the movement finishes, and the exhale finishes. As you might imagine, or you may even have encountered this already, that's not easy to do. So when you are a new beginner who's starting to practice yoga, my best recommendation is to not worry about the breathing at all. The first priority, the first thing for you to focus on is just understanding the sequence and how your body is meant to move. So after you've been practicing a little while and you become familiar with the sequences and the movements and, for example, which direction to turn your hands and things like that, after that becomes easy and routine for you, then it'll be the right time to start paying attention to your breathing. When you're ready to start paying attention to your breathing, the first thing to focus on is the smoothness of your breath. What I mean is that when we inhale, we should take in an equal and smooth volume of breath for the whole duration of the inhale. And it's the same thing for the exhale, an equal volume of exhale for the whole duration of that breath. The opposite of that would be to take in a huge gulp of inhale at the beginning of the breath and then to hold your breath for the whole rest of the movement. We don't want to do that. And same for the exhale. We don't want to exhale quickly and then hold our breath while we continue to move. So first start just to work on making the breath smooth on the inhale and on the exhale. After you become skilled at breathing smoothly, then you can start to pay attention to the coordination of your breath and your movement. And so that's the thing that I mentioned earlier. And I'm going to go through it again now because it is a little bit complicated and I want to make sure that you understand what you're working toward. So the way it works is your inhale begins and then your movement begins. And then your movement finishes and your inhale finishes. Then for the exhale, it's the same thing. You begin exhaling and your movement begins. And then your movement completes and your exhale completes. As you might imagine, it is pretty challenging to do that, especially if you're trying to do it for the whole duration of your practice. And you're bound to either breathe in a disjointed kind of way, so not matching with your movement, or you may forget entirely to do this because you become focused on, what the teacher's talking about or an interesting sequence or something like that, and you forget to coordinate the pace of your breath and the pace of the movement. So just know that it's going to take a long time, maybe a whole lifetime, to be able to concentrate and focus well enough to be able to maintain that coordination of breath and movement for the whole duration of your practice. So be easy with yourself. Give yourself some grace. I would suggest that you prioritize that coordination of breath and movement on simpler sequences, like, for example, this example that I've given you. If you're trying to do a more complicated sequence like a sun salutation series or something that has many steps, it'll be more challenging for you to maintain your concentration on breathing in that type of a sequence. So be easy with yourself, work on it when your mind remembers to work on it. And if you forget sometimes, don't beat yourself up over it. There's one last topic that's very, very important that I want to make sure that we talk about right now. So this is a question that comes up very frequently everywhere I teach. So in my YouTube comments, in my live classes, and also in my online community, which is on Patreon. very frequently get this question, which is, what if my pace of breathing, me the student, is different than your pace of breathing or the pace that you are teaching as the teacher? Very legitimate question, and so I'm going to take some time to talk through this. Everybody breathes at a different pace. Everybody's lungs are different. Everybody's anatomy is different. Everybody breathes differently. Generally, in my videos, at least the recent ones, I usually do, in my mind, I'm inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 4, or sometimes I do 5. If your breath is shorter than a 4 or 5 count, or if it's longer than a 4 or 5 count, you may feel not comfortable breathing at my pace. So what I recommend is, once you understand the sequence that we're working on, whatever it is, a forward fold, a triangle, or whatever it is, once you understand the sequence, please go ahead and go at your pace. If you want to go at a breathing pace of 3 counts, or if you want to go at a breathing pace of 8 counts, go ahead and do it. The way that we can coordinate our paces is, for example, maybe I'm going to do 6 repetitions of 4 count breaths, and maybe you're going to do 6 count breaths and you're going to end up doing more like 4 repetitions, something like that. So whenever I conclude doing however many repetitions of a certain sequence, you can conclude at the same time. Even if we've done a different number of repetitions, it's totally fine. Oh, and I should mention that you don't necessarily need to be counting the duration of your inhale and your exhale. It's something that I do in my practice, and you might feel comfortable with it now, or if you're not comfortable with it now, you can just tuck it in the back of your head and keep it there, because it may be something that you're interested in doing down the road. Okay, I think that's about everything that I have to share with you today about breathing in the asana practice, in your physical yoga practice. This should be plenty of information to help you get started and to begin progressing in your practice as far as the breath and the movement and how to coordinate those together. If you have additional questions about breathing in the asana practice, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And if you're interested in more information about how to work with me, I'll put a link in the description box below. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.